Gardner here for Municipal World. We're at the 2019 annual conference of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities in beautiful Quebec City. And joining me in the Municipal World Media Center is Mayor Lisa Helps from the City of Victoria, British Columbia. Welcome.
Thank you so much for welcoming me.
So, I'd like to talk to you about the City of Victoria, of course, and you've got some innovative things going on there, like places around the country. You've got some issues around homelessness, and let's talk about that and what the city is doing to kind of address those problems.
Sure. We've taken a really innovative approach to housing as a region. So the Greater Victoria region is comprised of 13 municipalities, local governments, and we're working together with the provincial and federal governments to effectively end chronic homelessness in our region. It's going to take some time because we're behind in terms of 30 years of disinvestment from higher levels of government, particularly the federal government. But what we've done is put together a plan. We put in $30 million as a region. It was matched by the province and the federal government with $30 million each. So we effectively have $90 million. And the approach that we're taking is in every building that we build, there's going to be about 20% of units for people who are homeless. About 30% of units at rent geared to income, so based on what people can pay, and then about 50% of units just below market prices. And so the innovative piece is, first of all, there's no ghettos. Everybody's living together in one building. And secondly, the higher rents subsidize the lower rents, so there's no need for ongoing operating subsidy. So we got the funding confirmed by the federal government in May of 2018, and fast forward 1 year, we're about 1,100 units into the program. So we're moving really quickly. Yeah, it's exciting. They're not all built yet, but that's about how many we've committed to so far.
That's fantastic. So it's it's kind of a very innovative approach, and working on a regional basis. How did you get that, achieve that buy-in across the region for everyone to partner on this initiative?
Well, at first we didn't. We had to, as we should have to, develop a solid business case for it. And so the idea came from the City of Victoria to our regional government to borrow money to build affordable housing. And then the staff at the Capital Regional District did a fantastic job. They're the ones that came up with the model, with how we could basically find $30 million without raising taxes. And so the credit on the how goes to staff. We just came with the idea. And once most local governments saw the benefit of providing housing to people, again, not only people who are homeless, but people who are working, people who don't make enough money to afford housing, even though two members of a family are working full time. So the Regional Housing First program, which is what it's called, really does cross the spectrum. And I think once people from across the region saw the benefits of it, there was buy-in. And also, federal and provincial funding helps.
It definitely helps, right? So buy-in from the partners. What's been the response, the reaction from the public? Has there been concern?
No, I think the public still. I mean, when we first came out with the idea, the headline was like, "Mayor proposes to borrow $50 million for housing," and it was, the article was like, the mayor, what is the mayor thinking? Is the mayor off her rocker, basically? But then, I think as the public sees these projects come forward, as they see the potential for housing for their kids and grandkids in their own neighborhoods where they grew up, the beautiful thing about the program too is the housing is spread throughout the region, not just in the City of Victoria. So it allows people to live where they work and in some cases where they've grown up.
One of the things that you introduced in the city was a Declaration of Values. Tell us about that.
Sure. We had just come through a very contentious election campaign last October, and one of the first things that we did as a council was sit down and figure out how we're going to work together. And before I was elected as mayor, before I was a councillor even, I did lots of work with organizations, nonprofits, kind of on strategic planning and conflict resolution. And one of the things that I always insist on at the beginning of any process is for the group to develop a declaration of principles and values that talks about how are we going to work together, what are our shared agreements that we're making at the outset. And so that's what we did at the beginning of this term of council, and it's quite inspiring, both the process for developing it and the fact that it was adopted unanimously. Yeah, and again, it talks about how we work with each other, how we work with staff, and how we work with the public. And I think our responsibility is to check in on it once a quarter. The last commitment is we will review these Declaration of Principles and Values once a quarter. So it's a good tool to hold us accountable to ourselves.
And it was developed in consultation with the rest of council and...
Yeah, we did it all together as a group in the same way that I was doing when I was facilitating for other organizations.
That's fantastic. That's great. So can we talk about being a woman in local government, having a leadership position as a mayor, what that experience is like, what you've learned?
It's actually very good. I think there's a fantastic book that I would recommend to you and anyone else who's interested. It's called The Athena Doctrine: How Women and Men Who Think Like Them Will Rule the Future. And it's written by two men. And basically what it lays out is that the qualities that are needed to solve the biggest challenges facing us as a globe right now are qualities that are traditionally gendered female, like empathy, like long-term thinking, like planning for the future, relationship-based leadership, all of those things. And so it's been a real joy to kind of embody those qualities in a world that needs them. And a lot of the leaders in our community are also women. So the chair or the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce is a woman. The CEO of our Regional Economic Development Organization is a woman. The CEO of our Transit Commission, or the Transit Commission, and the Board of Transit, and the CEO of Transit, all women, right? And also we work with fantastic men. So I think it's been a real privilege to be a woman leader and to model the qualities that I think are important, and to see those reflected back by both men and women in my community.
And you have kind of a good balance there, right, of men and women in these leadership positions.
We do, yeah.
And
on our council, actually for the last 3 terms, we've had 5 women and 4 men on council.
So it's a good balance. We know that we make better decisions when everybody's represented at the
Absolutely.
table. And it's very clearly helping to drive good things in the city of Victoria.
Yeah.
So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thanks for coming in and chatting with us.
You're so welcome.
Been a real pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm Susan Gardner from Municipal World with Mayor Lisa Helps from the City of Victoria, British Columbia. We share your stories.